Today I'm going to give you the top 10 most used weapons in Warzone. This will help you get more wins and kills because these are what players are actually using the most. And each weapon will have a low level build and a high level build for you to use. And I will also include what map this gun is best for. Some of these surprised me and others are just ones I've used all year long. So at 10 we have the SOG SMG. This has been a really consistent SMG the past few seasons. And it's been nerfed a little bit recently and there's also been some other buffs. So it's been knocked down. I can see why it's not used as much at 2%. But as you see here, it still has a competitive TTK. Its recoil is very manageable, and it still has one of the better movement speeds in the game today. At 9, we have the Growl. This honestly comes to no surprise. It has one of the best recoil patterns in the game. I would definitely recommend using this for rebirths because its damage does fall off compared to the AMAX and some of these other weapons. But it's really fun to use, and it still has the good iron sights from Warzone 1. At 8, we have the TR2. Now, I actually haven't tried this just because I'm personally not a fan of semi-automatics in Warzone, but it does have good recoil, and it shoots a little faster and feels better compared to the DM10, which is next on the list. But it does take one more bullet. And like I mentioned, at 7 we have this DM10. This is used slightly more often. This is also a semi-automatic and has a little more recoil, but it does that extra damage. It's a 3-shot to the head and a 5-shot to the body. I've honestly just never used it and I probably won't, but I do see it laying on the ground occasionally, so I think it's probably worth trying. At 6 we have the AMAX. This was just nerfed recently. It was used much more frequently. It was probably the most used AR last week, but as of May 8th they nerfed a lot with it, including its headshot multiplier, its sprint to fire time, and its ADS movement. So they overall just made the gun a little bit slower, so I wouldn't use this for Rebirth Island. I would use this primarily for Verdansk because it still has the same damage as it did before, and it's still the best killing AR at long range. But there is a trade-off with that recoil. And if you are building this, I would use the compensator if you think the recoil is a little too much with the monolithic. It will be on radar without the suppressor, but it helps with that recoil control a lot more. At 5, we have the HDR at 6%. This is still a one hit to the head with infinite range, and like the AMAX, they did nerf this recently in the same update, and they also just made the gun slower overall compared to what it was, like ADS speeds and things like that. The fact you can still one hit at any range makes this still the best sniper in the game. At 4, we have the C9. This is now one of the better SMGs after it was buffed in that most recent update. I would say it's the second best in the game. It still has really good movement, really good damage. If you don't have the lapper, I would use this instead. All right, now it's time for the top 3. At 3, we have the Kilo 141. Now this does have a much higher TTK, but its recoil is very forgiving. You don't have to unlock it in the battle pass or anything like that. You just get it for logging in. So I can see why this is used more than the Growl, even though the Growl does a little more damage. It's just a really easy to use weapon. I recommend using this on Rebirth because its long range damage isn't great. I wouldn't use it on Verdansk. I would use some of these other options. But overall, this is a solid weapon. But I am surprised to see it all the way up at 3. And the second most used weapon is the new SMG that they introduced with Season 3 Reloaded. And this is the top SMG for a reason. Its fire rate is insane, but it doesn't have that recoil that some of the other weapons that have high fire rates do. As you can see here, it has really good damage and it has really good mid-range damage. So you could use this on any map. This is overall the best SMG in the game. And it also has good movement. There's no cons to using this SMG. And number 1, the most used weapon right now with over a quarter of the players using it is the pxlse. This assault rifle got a huge buff. Not only its damage, but pretty much every aspect of the weapon was buffed. Now there is a little bit of a trade-off with the damage compared to something like the AMAX at really long ranges, but it has much easier recoil. That's just for long range though, because at medium range and short range, this still kills quicker. I would recommend this for either mode, but if you are on Rebirth, I would say this is hands down the best option you can use. So I just want to do something a little different. Instead of a top 10 best weapons, I wanted to see what the top 10 most used in the game were. I was surprised to see some of the semi-automatics there. I don't see too many of these on the ground. I pick up occasionally 1 or 2 off of a body that I may have killed. If you haven't tried the pxlse yet, that was buffed yesterday, highly recommend giving it a shot. Let me know down below what you're using, and if you want to support the channel, be sure to drop a like and subscribe. I try to make quick and fast Warzone guides for everyone. That's it, peace.